When your mind becomes strong, your life changes, ladies and gentlemen. There comes a moment in every life when we realize no one is coming to save us. No miracle is going to fall out of the sky. And that's not a moment of despair, it is a moment of power. Because that's when you understand the strength you've been searching for has always lived inside you. You see, life doesn't get easier. The world doesn't slow down. People don't always change, but you can. And that change, real change, starts in the mind. Let me tell you something simple but life-altering. When your mind becomes strong, your life begins to shift. It's not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about choosing every day to rise above your circumstances, to see the chaos but not let it control you, to feel the fear but not let it stop you. A strong mind doesn't silence the noise. A strong mind chooses what to listen to. When your mind is strong, you stop chasing validation, you stop begging for love that hurts, you stop apologizing for your dreams, you walk differently, you speak with purpose, you live in truth. People will look at you and say, something's changed. And they'll be right, because once your mind is disciplined, you no longer live on autopilot. You don't react, you respond, you don't fall apart. You pause, you breathe, and you rebuild. You stop shrinking to fit in rooms you've outgrown. And you realize you don't have to dim your light to make others comfortable. And let me say this to anyone who's been through heartbreak, through failure, through grief so deep it shook your spirit. You are still here. That alone means you are strong enough to rise. So take your pain, take your setbacks, take every moment you doubted yourself, and build with them. Use them as bricks in the foundation of a new mindset. Because once your mind becomes unshakable, your circumstances can no longer define you. You don't get what you deserve in life. You get what you believe you're capable of. That's why your mind is the first battlefield and your greatest weapon. So start today. Feed your mind with truth. Protect it from doubt. Challenge it with purpose. And nurture it with love, because when your mind becomes strong, your life doesn't just change, it transforms. There comes a time in life, sometimes quiet, sometimes earth-shattering, when we finally see that the path we're on isn't being paved by anyone else. That moment, that realization, isn't always wrapped in glory or grand gestures. More often, it sneaks in during silence, when the world grows still enough for you to hear the voice that has been whispering all along. You are the one. This isn't about arrogance. It's not about shutting others out. It's about ownership, about taking hold of your life with both hands and deciding that you're not waiting anymore for perfect timing, for someone to believe in you, for things to feel easier. There is no savior coming. There is no rescue team arriving, and you know what? That's not a tragedy. That is your liberation. Because the moment you understand that the strength you've been looking for isn't in a book, a mentor, a relationship, or a lucky break, but already inside of you, you become free. You become unstoppable. You stop waiting and start becoming. Too many people spend years chasing something they already have. They want courage, but they don't realize every day they've gotten out of bed despite the weight of doubt. They've shown it. They want clarity, but they don't realize that intuition, the gut feeling they've ignored so many times, was always guiding them. They want strength, not seeing that surviving what they've been through already proves they possess it. The problem is never the lack of strength. It's the lack of belief in that strength. When you look in the mirror, who do you see? For many, that reflection carries stories, failures, mistakes, regret, rejection. But those aren't definitions. They're just chapters, and no one reads a book and stops at chapter 7. Your story is still being written, and the next part depends not on what has happened to you, but on what you decide happens next. That decision, that shift in the narrative, begins in the mind. You have to stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "What now?" because the first question keeps you stuck in the past. The second opens a door to the future. And the only way you walk through that door is by knowing, really knowing, that everything you need you already carry within. People will try to tell you who you are. Circumstances will try to box you in. Your own fears will whisper that you're not enough. But a strong mind listens carefully and chooses. It chooses which voices matter. It chooses which story gets repeated. And above all, it chooses who you become. There is a difference between having a thought and believing a thought. Strength of mind doesn't mean you never feel doubt or fear. It means you don't obey them. It means you recognize them as visitors, not residents. You acknowledge them and then choose to act in alignment with something deeper. Your purpose, your truth, your vision for the life you want. Building that kind of mental strength isn't a one-time act. It's a practice, a daily decision, every time you show up for yourself, especially when no one else claps, especially when it's hard. You're training your mind to be your ally, not your enemy. You're developing resilience, focus, clarity. And slowly, steadily, your inner world begins to shape your outer one. Because make no mistake, life will still challenge you. It will throw curveballs. People will disappoint. Plans will fall apart. But when your strength comes from within, you don't break. You bend. You don't panic. You pause. You don't collapse. You recalibrate. That's the power of a strong mind. It doesn't change the world around you. It changes how you navigate it. And in that shift, your entire life transforms. Suddenly, things that used to derail you no longer hold power. Situations that once felt impossible now feel like puzzles, not prisons. You become more grounded, more centered, more peaceful. Not because life is easier, but because you are stronger. So if you're waiting for someone to come fix it, stop. If you're hoping for the perfect moment, stop. If you're searching everywhere but inside, pause, breathe, and remember, the strength you've been searching for has always lived within you. Your power isn't somewhere out there. It's here, it's now, it's you. A strong mind does not eliminate fear, erase doubt, or silence every negative thought, but it does something far more powerful. It learns how to choose. It learns how to stand in the middle of noise, chaos, pressure, and still respond with clarity and calm. A strong mind isn't about having control over everything outside you. It's about having authority over what happens within you. Most of us have been conditioned to react. Someone criticizes us and we react with defensiveness. Something doesn't go as planned and we react with panic. A door closes and we react with despair. These reactions are natural, but they are not always helpful. When we live on autopilot, we give away our power without even realizing it. Our moods become slaves to our circumstances. Our peace becomes fragile, easily shattered by the day's smallest inconvenience. But the moment we begin to choose, to take a breath before we respond, to pause before we speak, to think before we act, we begin to shift from survival to strength. That is where real power lies, not in domination, not in suppression, but in discernment. A strong mind is not the loudest voice in the room. It is the quietest one that remains grounded when everything else feels like it's falling apart. Life will always bring you situations you cannot control. People will misunderstand you. Plans will unravel. Pressure will mount. But in those moments, your greatest weapon is the ability to respond instead of react. You learn to ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Is this feeling rooted in truth or in fear? Is this reaction about the present, or is it a wound from the past? That pause, those few seconds of awareness, can change everything. With a strong mind, you don't let emotion drive your decisions. You don't act out of anger, speak out of insecurity, or give up out of fear. Instead, you choose your energy, you choose your focus, you choose your next step. That choice creates space for growth, for understanding, for peace. And here's the beautiful part. This kind of mental strength isn't reserved for monks or motivational speakers. It's something you build brick by brick in the small moments. When you wake up and choose gratitude instead of resentment, you're building strength. When you listen instead of argue, you're building strength. When you resist the urge to spiral into anxiety and instead ground yourself in the present, you're building strength. Every conscious choice is a training session for the mind, but it takes commitment because reacting is easier. Reacting feels good in the moment. It gives you a sense of control, of immediacy, but it's short-lived and it often leaves a trail of regret. Responding, on the other hand, is intentional. It's thoughtful. It's rooted in awareness. And that's not always easy. It requires practice, patience, and above all, presence. And yes, there will be days when you slip. When the emotion takes over, when the past hijacks the present, when your strength feels like it's missing in action. But that's okay, because every day is another chance to practice. Mental strength doesn't mean perfection. It means resilience. It means getting back up again and again and choosing to live with purpose instead of impulse. Imagine how different your life becomes when your mind works for you, not against you. When you stop reacting to every provocation and instead choose peace. When you stop overthinking every problem and start focusing on solutions. When you stop being pulled in every direction by the world and start being guided by your own inner compass. That is the gift of a strong mind, and it doesn't just impact you. It transforms your relationships, your work, your health, your happiness, because people feel your energy, they sense your calm, they trust your presence. You become someone who doesn't just survive pressure, you transcend it. So the next time you're faced with a challenge, remember this. You don't have to match the chaos around you. You can meet it with stillness. You don't have to mirror the aggression thrown at you. You can meet it with grace. You don't have to let every emotion carry you away. You can stand your ground and choose your response. That choice, repeated over time, becomes a habit. That habit becomes your mindset, and that mindset becomes your life. A strong mind may not change what happens to you, but it will always change what happens next. When your mind becomes strong, one of the most liberating shifts you will experience is the release of the need for external validation. It's not that you no longer care about people or their opinions. It's that you no longer depend on them to define who you are. There is a quiet confidence that rises when you no longer measure your worth by how many people applaud, agree, or approve. Instead, your validation comes from within, and that inner source, it's infinite if you learn how to tap into it. Many of us grow up in environments that teach us to perform for approval. As children, we learn to please our parents, teachers, and friends in order to feel accepted. We associate being loved with being agreeable, impressive, or successful. And somewhere along the line, we begin to believe that our value is conditional, that we are only enough when someone else says we are. This belief becomes a mental prison. You smile when you want to cry. You say yes when you mean no. You shrink your dreams so others feel comfortable. You start to live not for yourself, but for applause. But that applause is never consistent. People are fickle. Tastes change. Crowds shift. What they praise you for today, they might mock you for tomorrow. And if you build your identity on that unstable foundation, you'll always feel uncertain, always hustling for approval, always anxious that the love might be taken away. That is no way to live. A strong mind rewrites that story. A strong mind knows that your worth isn't up for debate. You don't need to prove yourself to anyone. You don't need to be chosen, endorsed, or liked to be valuable. You are worthy simply because you exist. You are enough even on your worst days. That belief doesn't make you arrogant. It makes you whole. And when you are whole, you no longer chase relationships that drain you just to avoid being alone. You no longer twist yourself into someone else's version of acceptable just to feel loved. You stop apologizing for your ambition, your boundaries, your voice. You stop playing small so others won't feel threatened by your light. You become more authentic, and in that authenticity, you begin to attract people who love you as you are. Not for what you do, not for what you give, not for how well you perform, but for who you are deep down. And isn't that the kind of love we're all searching for? The kind that sees us, not the mask we wear. But here's the thing, you won't find that love until you give it to yourself first. You have to believe you are enough. You have to look in the mirror and not just see your flaws, but see your fight, see your growth, see your spirit. That self-recognition is powerful, it's healing, it's freeing. When you live from that place, you operate differently. You're not desperate to be liked, so you're not afraid to speak your truth. You're not scared of rejection, because you know that being true to yourself is worth more than fitting into someone else's mold. You don't crumble when people criticize you, because you've already decided that their opinion doesn't define your reality. A strong mind chooses self-respect over people-pleasing. It prioritizes authenticity over acceptance. It embraces solitude over toxic company, and the more you practice this, the easier it becomes. You start to realize that your energy is too sacred to waste on convincing others to see your worth. You stop begging for seats at tables where you're only tolerated. You build your own table instead. That's not to say you close your heart to others. On the contrary, you become more open, but also more discerning. You no longer let just anyone into your inner world. You know your value, and you know what you deserve. You become the gatekeeper of your own peace. This kind of mental strength doesn't just change how you feel, it changes how you live. You start to say no with confidence. You start to walk away from what no longer serves you. You start to pursue dreams that once felt too risky, too bold, too far away, because now you're no longer waiting for permission, and that's when the magic begins. Life starts to align with your truth. Opportunities find you because you're no longer hiding. Real connections come into your life because you've stopped pretending. Everything becomes more peaceful, more purposeful, more you. The moment you stop needing external validation is the moment you start truly living. You stop being a reflection of other people's expectations and start becoming the fullest expression of who you were always meant to be. And that shift, quiet, powerful, internal, is where transformation begins. Every challenge, every heartbreak, every failure, these moments are not the end of your story. They are not signs that you're broken or defeated. Instead, they are the foundation stones on which your future strength is built. When your mind becomes strong, pain is no longer a threat but a teacher, a guide that shows you how to grow deeper, wider, and stronger. It's natural to want to avoid pain, to wish it would just disappear, to believe that if life were easier, you would be happier. But pain is an unavoidable part of the human experience. Everyone faces it at some point in some form. What separates those who flourish from those who falter is not the absence of pain, but the way they meet it. A strong mind faces pain head on and chooses to learn from it rather than be destroyed by it. Think about it. Every person you admire, every story of success or triumph, is littered with moments of difficulty. What looks like a smooth journey from the outside was often a battlefield behind the scenes. What turned ordinary people into legends wasn't luck. It was their refusal to give up, their willingness to embrace pain as part of the process. Pain has a way of stripping away illusions. It removes the mask and exposes the truth beneath. When you lose something precious, you come face to face with what really matters. When plans fall apart, you are forced to ask yourself what you're really made of. When rejection knocks on your door, you discover reserves of courage you never knew existed. It is in these moments of vulnerability that your mind grows stronger, and it's not just about surviving pain, it's about transforming it. Every scar carries a story of healing. Every setback becomes a setup for a comeback. When your mindset shifts to see pain as an opportunity, you unlock a power few ever tap into. You realize that your hardships don't define you, your response to them does. This transformation takes time. It requires patience and compassion for yourself. The wounds of pain don't heal overnight, and trying to rush that process only leads to more suffering. But with a strong mind, you learn to be gentle with yourself, to honor your journey, and to keep moving forward even when the road is rough. A strong mind also understands that pain connects us. It reminds us that we're human. It fosters empathy, compassion, and deeper relationships. When you have walked through darkness, you are better equipped to guide others who are lost. Your pain becomes a bridge, not a barrier. It's important to remember that growth often happens in the discomfort zone. Change rarely comes wrapped in comfort and certainty. It is forged in the fire of struggle and perseverance. When your mind embraces this truth, fear of pain loses its grip. You begin to see challenges not as obstacles, but as invitations to become more resilient, more courageous, more alive. And here is the beautiful paradox. The stronger your mind becomes, the more you are able to face pain without being crushed by it, and the more your life changes. You move from being a victim of circumstance to being the creator of your future. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What can I learn? How can I grow?" This mindset doesn't make pain disappear, but it transforms your relationship with it. Instead of avoiding or denying, you meet it with strength, acceptance, and wisdom. You stop running from the storm and start dancing in the rain. Over time, this resilience becomes a core part of who you are. It colors your decisions, your attitudes, your goals. You become someone who no longer fears the unknown because you know that whatever comes, you have the inner strength to face it. You become someone who carries scars not as symbols of defeat, but as badges of honor. The result is a life that is richer, deeper, and more meaningful. When your mind is strong, pain no longer holds you back. Instead, it propels you forward. It sharpens your focus, clarifies your purpose, and fuels your passion. So if you're in the middle of a struggle today, if you feel broken or lost, remember this: your pain is not wasted. It is preparing you for something greater. It is shaping you into someone who can withstand the storms of life and come out shining on the other side. When your mind becomes strong enough to hold your pain with grace, your life changes in ways you never thought possible. You become a force of nature, resilient, powerful, unstoppable, and that is the true power of a strong mind. True success isn't about how much you have or how many titles you hold. It isn't measured by applause or external milestones. When your mind becomes strong, you understand that success is an inside job. It is about aligning your actions with your deepest values, living a life that feels authentic and purposeful, and pursuing goals that nourish your soul, not just your status. So many people chase success based on society's standards: money, fame, power. But these things, while tempting, can be fleeting. They can slip through your fingers like sand, leaving you feeling empty despite outward achievements. A strong mind recognizes this trap early and chooses a different path. It chooses to define success on its own terms. This means success becomes less about comparison and more about contribution. It shifts from what do I have to how am I growing and who am I helping. When you start seeing success as a journey of self-mastery rather than a destination, you free yourself from the exhausting cycle of competition and judgment. Living by your own values requires courage. It means saying no to opportunities that don't feel right, even if they promise wealth or recognition. It means standing firm when your choices are questioned or misunderstood. It means trusting your intuition and inner wisdom, even when the world screams otherwise. This kind of success is deeply fulfilling because it honors your true self. When your daily work reflects your passions and principles, you wake up with purpose. You carry a sense of meaning that no external achievement can provide. You feel connected, not just to your goals, but to a larger mission that fuels your spirit. Moreover, strong-minded individuals understand that success involves balance. It's not just about hustle and grind. It's about harmony between mind, body, and heart. It's about nurturing relationships, health, and joy alongside ambition. This holistic approach creates sustainability so you don't burn out chasing a hollow dream. A strong mind also embraces failure as part of success. It knows that setbacks are lessons, not verdicts. Each stumble is an opportunity to learn, adapt, and improve. This mindset removes fear and opens space for innovation and creativity. You become willing to take risks because you know success isn't about never falling. It's about always rising. When success is rooted in your values and mindset, it radiates outward. People notice your authenticity, your passion, and your resilience. You inspire others not by boasting about achievements, but by living with integrity and heart. You become a beacon for those seeking their own path. This transformation changes your relationship with goals. Instead of chasing arbitrary milestones, you set intentions that reflect who you truly want to be. You celebrate progress, no matter how small, because each step forward is a victory. You cultivate gratitude for the journey, recognizing that success is woven through everyday moments. Living this way rewires your brain for positivity and motivation. Your mind becomes a powerful ally, fueling your dreams instead of doubting them. You develop confidence not because of external validation, but because you know your worth is grounded in something unshakable. True success also means embracing humility. A strong mind understands that no matter how far you go, there is always more to learn, more to give, and more to become. This humility keeps you open, curious, and connected to the world around you. Ultimately, the most powerful success is the kind that transforms you from the inside out. It shapes your character, deepens your compassion, and expands your vision. It is success that lasts, not just a moment in the spotlight, but a lifelong journey of growth and fulfillment. So when your mind becomes strong enough to see success through this lens, your life changes profoundly. You move from chasing external rewards to creating a life rich with meaning, joy, and impact. You become not just an achiever, but a creator of a legacy rooted in purpose and authenticity. And that, truly, is the hallmark of a strong mind, a mind that knows what success really means and lives it every single day.